The first time I saw Ethan Caldwell again, he was standing outside my job, clutching sunflowers like they were a lifeline, his eyes searching for mine through the bookstore's glass window. My heart stopped not from joy, but from the jagged memory of his voice, sharp and cruel, slicing through me in college. "Faggot," he'd hissed in the dorm halls, his laughter a blade that followed me for years. I'm Jalen Harris, 23, a black queer kid from Brooklyn who clawed his way through NYU on scholarships and stubbornness. Ethan was the golden boy captain of the lacrosse team, rich, white, and untouchable. For 3 years, he made my life hell, Snickers in lecture halls, accidental shoves in the cafeteria, and that one night at a frat party when he outed me to a room full of strangers. I'd spent years burying the shame, but seeing him now, outside my safe haven at Bound Pages bookstore, ripped it all open. It was 6:45 p.m. 15 minutes until closing. The store smelled of coffee and old paper, my sanctuary after a childhood of chaos. I was wiping down the espresso machine when I spotted him. His broad shoulders slouched, his navy jacket wrinkled like he'd been pacing. Sunflowers me favorite, though he couldn't have known that dangled in his grip. I froze, my rag dripping onto the counter. Why was he here? Why now? 2 years after graduation. "Jalen, you okay?" My coworker, Mia, nudged me. She was a petite Latina with a knack for reading people. Her eyes followed mine to Ethan. "Who's that?" "Someone I never wanted to see again," I muttered, turning away. But my pulse raced, betraying the calm I tried to fake. I busied myself with stacking books, but my hands shook. Ethan didn't move. He just stood there, waiting, like a ghost who'd track me down. The bell above the door chimed. My stomach dropped as Ethan stepped inside, the flowers brighter under the store's warm lights. Customers glanced up, sensing the tension. He approached the counter, his steps hesitant, like he was walking on glass. "Jalen," he said softly, his voice stripped of the arrogance I remembered. "Can we talk?" I laughed, bitter and loud. "Talk? After what you did?" Heads turned. Mia raised an eyebrow but stayed quiet. "I know I don't deserve it," he said, his green eyes pleading. "But I'm trying to make things right." "Right?" I snapped, slamming a book onto the counter. "You think flowers fix 3 years of torment?" My voice cracked, and I hated it. I hated that he still had this power over me. He flinched, but didn't back down. I was an idiot. Worse than that. "I'm sorry, Jalen. I've been trying to find you for months." I stared at him, searching for the lie, the trick. But his face older, softer, with faint lines of guilt held no malice. Just regret. And something else I couldn't name. "Why?" I demanded. "Why now?" He swallowed, glancing at the flowers. "Because I can't stop thinking about you. And not just because of what I did." My breath caught. The store felt too small, the air too thick. Mia coughed, breaking the silence, and I realized we had an audience. I grabbed my jacket. "Outside. Now." We stepped into the chilly October evening, the city humming around us. Ethan followed, still clutching those damn flowers. I crossed my arms, keeping distance between us. "Talk fast, Caldwell." He took a deep breath. I was a coward in college. I was struggling with things. My dad, my team, expectations. I took it out on you because you were everything I wasn't: brave, open, real. I hated myself for it, and I hated you for making me face it. I blinked, thrown off. What are you saying? I'm saying I was wrong. And I'm saying I'm gay. Jalen. I've known it for years, but I couldn't admit it until now. The world tilted. Ethan Caldwell me bully. My nightmare was gay. And he was standing here, confessing it to me, with flowers in his hands. I don't expect forgiveness, he continued, his voice raw. But I need you to know I'm not that guy anymore. I've been trying to make amends. I've sent flowers to your job for weeks, hoping you'd see them and, I don't know. Give me a chance to prove I've changed. I remembered the bouquet sunflowers. Always sunflowers left anonymously at the bookstore. I'd thought they were from a secret admirer, not my enemy. My chest tightened, torn between rage and something softer, something dangerous. You don't get to just show up and rewrite history, I said, my voice low. You hurt me, Ethan. You don't know what that did to me. I know, he whispered. And I'll spend as long as it takes to make it up to you. If you'll let me. I stared at him, the boy who'd broken me now begging to fix it. The city roared on, but for a moment, it was just us two broken pieces of a past I thought I'd buried. I didn't know if I could trust him. But God help me. I wanted to. I walked away from Ethan that night, leaving him standing on the sidewalk with his sunflowers. The city's noise swallowed my racing thoughts, but his words clung to me like damp clothes. I'm gay, Jalen. I've known it for years. How could the person who tormented me for being myself carry the same secret I'd fought to embrace? The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and the weight of his confession. My apartment, a cramped studio in Bed-Stuy, was my fortress, posters of James Baldwin and Audre Lorde plastered on the walls. A second-hand couch where I'd cried through college. I sat there now, staring at my phone, debating whether to block the number Ethan had slipped into my pocket before I left. I didn't. Instead, I texted Mia, he's back. And he says he's sorry. Her reply was instant, the flower guy. Spill. I didn't know how to explain it. Ethan's apology felt like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. I'd spent years hating him, building walls to protect myself. Now he was knocking, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to open the door. At work, the bookstore was quiet. The kind of Sunday morning where old jazz played softly and customers lingered over poetry. I was shelving books when another bouquet arrived, sunflowers again. With a note, I meant every word. Coffee sometime. My heart did a traitor's flip. I shoved the note in my pocket, but Mia caught me. Jalen, you're blushing, she teased, leaning against the counter. Who's this guy? He's persistent. He's complicated, I said, dodging her eyes. I didn't tell her about college, about the nights I'd spent replaying Ethan's cruelty, wondering why I was his target. I didn't tell her how his confession made me question everything. That evening, Ethan was there again, outside the bookstore. No flowers this time, just him in a gray hoodie, looking like he hadn't slept. I sighed, grabbing my coat. You don't give up, do you? Not when it matters, he said, his voice steady but nervous. Can I walk you home? I hesitated. Every instinct screamed to say no, but curiosity or something stupider won. Fine. But don't expect me to be nice. We walked through Brooklyn, the streets alive with laughter and music. Ethan didn't push, didn't fill the silence with excuses. Instead, he asked about my life, me job, my art I sketched in my spare time, my dreams. I gave short answers, but his questions felt genuine, like he was memorizing every word. Why sunflowers? I finally asked, stopping under a street lamp. He rubbed the back of his neck. Sheepish. I saw you doodling them in class once. Sophomore year. You were in the back, sketching instead of listening. I thought, maybe they meant something to you. I stared at him, stunned. He'd noticed me. Back then, when I was invisible to everyone but his cruelty. You were watching me. Not in a creepy way, he said quickly. I just noticed you. A lot. And I hated that I did. His honesty disarmed me. I wanted to stay angry, to hold on to the pain that had shaped me. But his eyes, raw and unguarded, made it hard. You don't get to do this, I said, my voice shaking. You don't get to come back and make me feel whatever this is. I know, he said. But I'm trying. Jalen. I'm trying to be better. We reached my building, and I turned to face him. This doesn't mean I forgive you. I don't expect you to, he said. But I'm not going anywhere. I went inside, my heart a mess. That night, I pulled out my sketchbook and drew sunflowers, their petals sharp and bright. I didn't know what I was feeling, but it wasn't just anger anymore. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan became a fixture outside the bookstore. Sometimes with flowers, sometimes with coffee, always with that quiet persistence. I didn't know whether to admire his stubbornness or hate him for it. My walls were cracking, and I wasn't ready for that. One rainy afternoon, I found him waiting under an awning, soaked but smiling. You're going to catch pneumonia, I said, tossing him a towel from the store. Worth it if you'll talk to me, he replied, drying his hair. His grin was boyish, nothing like the smirk I remembered from college. Stop being charming, I snapped, but my lips twitched. Damn him. He laughed, soft and real. Can I buy you lunch? There's a diner around the corner. No pressure, just food. I should have said no. But I was tired of fighting my curiosity. We sat in a booth at Rosie's Diner, the kind of place with sticky tables and endless coffee refills. Ethan talked about his life since college, quitting lacrosse, coming out to his family, losing friends who couldn't handle it. His dad, a Wall Street type, had cut him off. He was working as a freelance graphic designer now, scraping by. I deserved it, he said, staring into his coffee. After what I did to you, karma's fair. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to agree, to let him drown in guilt. But another part saw the boy in front of me, not the bully from years ago. Why me? I asked. Why target me? He winced. You were, you. Unapologetic. Out. I was jealous. Jalen. I was stuck in my own head, hating myself for who I was. You were everything I couldn't be. His words hit hard. I'd spent years thinking I was weak, a victim. To hear I'd been a symbol of strength, even to my tormentor, was surreal. You could have just talked to me, I said quietly. I know, he said. I was scared. And stupid. We ate in silence for a while, the rain tapping the windows. I told him about my life growing up with a single mom, the scholarship that changed everything, the art I poured my pain into. He listened like every word mattered. As we left, he stopped me. Jalen, I don't expect you to trust me. But I'm falling for you. And I'll wait as long as it takes. My heart stuttered. I wanted to scream, to run, to kiss him. Instead, I said, you're going to have to work harder than that. But as I walked home, his words echoed. I'm falling for you. And for the first time, I wondered if I could fall, too. Falling for Ethan was like stepping into a storm, thrilling, terrifying, and impossible to control. We started meeting outside the bookstore, small moments that grew into something bigger. Coffee turned into walks through Central Park, then late-night talks on my building's stoop. He was careful, never pushing too far, but his presence was a constant pull. One night, he showed up with a sketchbook. "I saw you drawing at work," he said, handing it to me. "Thought you might like this." It was high quality, the kind I couldn't afford. I flipped through it, my fingers lingering on the blank pages. "You're bribing me now," I teased, but my voice was soft. "Nah," he said, grinning. "Just investing in your art." I invited him up to my apartment, a decision that felt reckless. My studio was a mess: paint cans, books, half-finished sketches. Ethan didn't care. He sat on my couch, flipping through my old drawings, asking questions about each one. When he found a sketch of sunflowers, he paused. "These are beautiful," he said, his voice thick. I sat beside him, closer than I meant to. "Why are you doing this, Ethan? Really?" He set the sketchbook down, his eyes locking onto mine. "Because you're the one person I can't forget. Not from college. Not now. I see you, Jalen, your strength, your heart. I want to be part of that, if you'll let me." My throat tightened. I wanted to believe him, but fear held me back. "What if you hurt me again?" "I won't," he said, fierce. "I swear it." He reached for my hand, and I let him. His touch was warm, grounding. We sat there, the city humming outside, and for the first time, I felt the possibility of something new. Our first kiss happened on a rooftop bar in Manhattan, the skyline glittering below us. It was impulsive, messy, perfect. Ethan's lips were soft, hesitant, like he was afraid I'd pull away. I didn't. I kissed him back, my hands gripping his jacket, the world falling away. After that, we were inseparable. We spent weekends exploring the city, sharing secrets under streetlights. He told me about his therapy, his struggle to unlearn the toxic masculinity his dad drilled into him. I told him about the panic attacks I'd had in college, the ones his words had triggered. We were honest, raw, building something fragile but real. But the past wasn't done with us. One night, at a queer art gallery opening, I ran into an old college friend, Tyler. He recognized Ethan and froze. "This is the guy who made your life hell," he said, loud enough for others to hear. Ethan's face paled. I grabbed his arm, pulling him outside. "Ignore him," I said, but my voice shook. "I can't," Ethan said, his eyes haunted. "I don't want to be that person to you, Jalen. Not ever again." "You're not," I said, but doubt crept in. Could I really trust him? Or was I setting myself up for heartbreak? The doubt grew, a shadow over our budding romance. Ethan sensed it, doubling his efforts cooking me dinner, leaving notes in my sketchbook, showing up with sunflowers when I least expected it. But Tyler's words lingered, a reminder of the pain I'd buried. One night, I confronted him. We were in my apartment, rain pounding the windows. "How do I know this is real?" I asked. "How do I know you won't wake up one day and decide I'm not worth it?" Ethan's face crumpled. "Because I love you, Jalen. I've loved you since college, even when I was too broken to admit it." The words hit like a tidal wave. Love. I wanted to believe him, but fear was a powerful thing. "You don't get to say that," I whispered. "Not after everything." He stepped closer, his hands shaking. I know I don't deserve you. But I'm here, and I'm not leaving. I'll prove it every day if I have to. I kissed him then, desperate and scared, hoping love could drown out the past. Months passed, and Ethan kept his promise. He was there through my art shows, my late-night doubts, my mom's hospital scare. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying, and that meant more than I could say. One evening, he took me to the park where we'd had our first real talk. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the grass. He pulled out a sunflower, but this time, it was attached to a small box. Inside was a key. I'm moving to a new place, he said, nervous. I want you to have a key. Not to move in, not yet. Just to know you're welcome. Always. Tears stung my eyes. I took the key, my fingers brushing his. You're an idiot, I said, but I was smiling. I'm your idiot, he replied, pulling me close. A year later, we stood together at my first solo art show, sunflowers painted across every canvas. Ethan was by my side, proud and steady. The gallery was packed friends, strangers, even Tyler, who nodded at us with reluctant respect. I'd forgiven Ethan, not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Our love wasn't perfect, but it was ours built on apologies, trust, and sunflowers that bloomed where pain once grew. As we left the gallery, Ethan squeezed my hand. Worth the wait? He asked. I looked at him, my enemy turned ally, and smiled. Yeah. Worth it.